Okay, this is the only video I think that I'm going to make over day 2 of our unit on area. Today's topic is circles and sectors really are just a portion of a circle. Okay, so let's get down to business. First of all, a couple of formulas that you need to keep in mind. If we're going to have a circle has a radius of r, that is the distance from the middle to any point on the circle, that is the radius. Also keep in mind that that would be exactly half of the diameter. If I completed that line all the way across, I could call the full distance the diameter. That's going to be one of the big things that you need to pay attention to whenever you go through the problems for today, is the fact that, hey, there's a difference between these two things, and it's more of a reading thing than anything else for you guys. You just need to pay attention. Am I given the diameter, the full distance, or the radius, which is the half the distance? And here's what I know, is the area is equal to pi r squared. Okay? Now remember, we're talking area, so that'll be square units. Whenever you get done, you can see where the square shows up, right? If I take like 4 meters times 4 meters, I get square meters out of that. Also, remember, since we're doing perimeter of every single shape that we're doing in this unit, whenever I give you the perimeter of a circle, we have a special name for that. The perimeter of a circle, the distance around it, is called the circumference. That's C, if you need to spell it, C-I-R-C-U-M-F-E-R-E-N-C-E. That's the same thing as perimeter. I can find that by taking 2 pi times the radius. Notice that is not pi r squared. It is 2 pi times the radius. That's one of the big mistakes that kids make, is they'll mix and match these formulas. Or, because 2r, twice as long as the radius, is really just the diameter, it's really just pi times the diameter. Okay, so there we go. In fact, a lot of people remember it this way. The reason that we know what pi is because if you took the circumference of a circle and divide it by the diameter, the full distance across, you would get pi, no matter how big the circle is. So, some examples. The big thing that I want you to pay attention to in this unit, we're going to talk about the difference between exact answers and approximate answers, okay? An exact answer is a number that is exactly on, okay? There's no rounding, there's no nothing like that. Where an approximate answer is a number that's close. So you can expect to see things like pi get involved. We're going to put things in terms of pi, is what it's going to be called, in terms of pi for an exact answer. And when we give an approximate answer, which remember is this little 2 squiggly line, that means we're going to be looking for decimal answers, okay? So that's the difference between these two as we approach this unit. So for example, if I asked you for the area, perhaps, of this circle, here's what you know. The radius is 7 units. So if I know that area is equal to pi r squared, then I know that I need to find pi times 7 squared. Well, if I square 7, that's just 49, so the answer would be exactly 49 pi square units. I can write it just like this. If I knew what that dimension was, if it was meters or centimeters or whatever, I'd put that squared. 49 pi would be an answer in terms of pi. Approximately, though, if you take 49 times pi on your calculator, 49 times pi, you would get 153.938, right? And so I can go ahead, and if I want to give an approximate answer, 49 pi, really, 49 times 3.14-ish, right, would be about 153.94 units squared. And they mean really the same thing, but here's the difference. That's exactly, the area of this circle is exactly 49 pi square units. That's a number that has no ending to its decimals, whereas this one, we're just going to go ahead and, you know what, that's about 153.94. Same value, different ways of stating it, right? All right, here's another example. What is the area, say perhaps, of this circle? Well, notice the 16 goes all the way across. So if you wanted to do area is equal to pi r squared, the one mistake that kids make is they look at this and they see a 16 and think a 16 is going to show up in the formula, and that's not the case. See, the 16 is the diameter, which means the radius, the distance from here to here, is really 8 units, right? 8 units. So I would take pi times 8 squared to get the area. The 8 squared is 64, so it's exactly 64 pi, and this is in centimeters, so we're going to say square centimeters. Now 64 pi, if I put that into the calculator, that's approximately 201.06 square centimeters. So, same value, different ways of stating them. Alright, I see this video is already getting a little bit long. Let me see here. Let's do 2 examples and then I'll cut it off and we'll go to a different video. Okay? A little bit tougher problem. Let's find the area if the circumference, this stands for circumference, is 24 pi. Okay, well here's what I know. Is circumference is pi times the diameter. And in this case, circumference is 24 pi. So C is equal to pi times the diameter, and C is also equal to this. That means these two are equal to each other. 24 pi must be the same thing as pi times the diameter. You might see where this is going right now. The pi's go away. The diameter is 24, right? Well, if the diameter is 24 and I'm looking for the area, which is pi r squared, really the problem is I know the diameter. I wanted to know the area. I want to know the radius, don't I, to plug it into this formula. So if the diameter is 24, I cut that in half. Halfway across the circle will be 12. The area is going to be equal to pi times 12 squared, right? 12 squared is 144, so that would be 144 pi. And I don't know what the units are, so I'm just going to go ahead and say square units. Even tougher still because I'm going to throw an x in, okay? Find the circumference if the area is equal to this value. Well, here's what I know. Area is pi r squared. And in this problem, area is 9x squared pi centimeters squared, right? Well, if A is equal to this and A is equal to this, that means these two things on the right are equal to each other. So pi r squared must be the same thing as 9 pi squared, x squared pi. Wow, I really messed up the writing on this. That's supposed to be an x here. That is an x. This value here is an x, not a pi squared, okay? It's x squared. All right, well, if these two are equal to each other, you might see that the pi's go away. And so I have that r squared is equal to 9x squared. Now I need to square root both sides to get the r by itself. The square root of 9 is just 3. And the square root of x squared is just x. The radius is 3x. Okay, well, circumference is pi times diameter, right? And the diameter is twice as long as this. So if I have a circle that's 3x units to go halfway across, that means it must be another 3x units to go all the way across, which means I have a total of 6x units, right? So I put a 6x in for the diameter. I put a 6x in for the diameter, and I notice that then typically we put the pi at the end. Circumference is not area, so I'm not going to square it. It's just how long around it. What's the perimeter of it? It's 6x pi centimeters. All right, I think I got one more example here in this particular video. Here we go. The figure below shows a square. This is straight off the ACT, by the way. The figure below shows the square OABC. By the way, we want to note that it is a square. It also shows a circle centered at O. So here's the center of a circle, and it has a radius of OC or OA. Plural of radius is radii. So in other words, both of these are the radius of the circle. It goes from the center to a point on the circle. If the area of this square in here, that would be this shaded area that I just did, if that's 36 square units, then what's the area of the circle in square units? So if the area of the box is 36, what's the area of the circle? Well, here's what I know, is that the area of a square is base times height. And I know that this is 6 and this is 6. The base and the height are both 6, right? Because 6 times 6 is equal to 36. That means that the radius of the circle is 6, right? Because this represents the radius of the circle. That's 6 right there. So, area for a circle now, if we transfer the information from the square to the circle, is pi r squared. That means it's pi times 6 squared. 6 squared is 36. 36 pi is my answer. Okay. Yep. Okay, so that's good for now. We're going to talk about arc length and sectors in the next video.